Welcome Apartment Therapy. I'm Elise, and I want to walk you through my 300 square foot Toronto studio. I'm no longer in my Toronto studio. That's because I've moved to California, but the Toronto studio was my first big girl apartment, so let me show you around. Hi everyone, welcome to my apartment. I live in a 300 square foot micro studio. Today I want to show you some decorating tips and tricks to really maximize your small space. So when I moved in, this micro studio was essentially an empty box for me to fill. And what I realized is there was no storage space, so I had to add a lot of hooks for all the things that I had. So here, right by the entrance, I have all of my purses and bags that I can grab and go. Here I have my bulkier winter jackets, things that won't fit in the closet. And here I have a cute little jewelry organizer that I made myself with just thumbtacks and a pin board. Here I have a clothing rack from Umbra. It stores some of my bulkier items for winter, as well as just some things I like to keep out. Like this coat I have nowhere else to put, and it's my favorite coat at the moment, so it's hanging right here. Very close to the front door is my shoe rack. Placing this right up against the kitchen island, which cannot be moved, was really helpful because it makes it look like all one big furniture piece. This is my closet. As you can see, it is packed to the brim and there is nothing else I can stuff in here, which is why I have a lot of other additional storage scattered around my space. This is actually a great renter-friendly tip, is to use wallpaper instead of paint. It took a lot of time and grit to get through all the little nooks and crannies of the doorknob and things, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. Let's talk about mirrors. I love a good mirror moment, especially at the front entrance before I head out, or a full-length mirror where I can check my outfit. Mirrors are super important no matter what kind of space you have to bounce off the light, to make the space feel brighter, but I think especially in a small space, having mirrors in multiple places really help make the space feel more airy and bright. Another great tip I really took to heart was bringing the eyes up. Putting things higher up on your ceiling, whether that's hanging things off the ceiling or just hang pictures up along the ceiling like I did here, really draws the eyes up and makes the space feel bigger. Another thing I really wanted for my space was a rug, and when I was rug shopping, a lot of the prints were like really small repeating prints, and I actually discovered that makes your space feel smaller. So having abstract, oversized prints for your rug will make your space feel bigger than it is. When I first moved in, the place was fully furnished and I hated all of the furniture that it came with, except for this Murphy bed I kept. And I'm so glad I did because I've never had a Murphy bed before, and at first I thought I would want to get rid of it. Like, the idea of pulling and pushing up a bed twice a day, every day, seemed crazy to me. But because I live in a studio, it actually is really great because I can tuck it away for the day. I'm not someone who likes to eat in bed or work in bed, so I really only sleep in bed. So let me show you how this comes down. You might be wondering where my pillows and covers and all of that are, so I do have to remove them, and I put them in this storage box right here. I actually made this cover to help blend in with the space and make it a bit less of an eyesore. Unfortunately, there was just no room or way for me to have a TV in here, and you might be having this problem as well in your space, so a really great option is to have a projector. You don't have to have a blank wall to have a projector. You can actually get a projector screen, which is what I did. And it's like having movie night every single night. So obviously I live in a very small space, but I also work from home. So it was very important that I had a dedicated workspace, even in such a small apartment. So this became my little office nook. I have a perfectly sized standing desk here in the corner. It was actually quite hard to hunt down. A lot of the mainstream standing desk brands don't offer this size, but I found this one on Amazon. Also, having a super comfy chair was important, so this one I have from Umbra. But yeah, I spend Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 sitting here, so it's super important that the space is aesthetic but also functional. Another great decor tip if you have a small space is to hang your curtains from floor to ceiling. Even if you don't have floor to ceiling windows, it really makes the space feel elongated and tall and much bigger than it is. When I moved in, there's only 3 corners of the studio that I can designate to certain functions. And one of those corners I've decided to make a coffee and tea bar. But with that said, that's only the top surface. And I realized with all of the clothes that I have, it very quickly became a clothing storage unit as well. So the first 6 months living in this micro studio was very stressful to me because I mentioned I got rid of a lot of the things the previous owner left because it just was not my style. But then I was very mindful and intentional in bringing any new piece of furniture in because I knew if it didn't work out in the way I imagined, it's not like I could just tuck it somewhere else. There was nowhere else for things to go. So I really had to think about where my desk would be, where my mirror would go. It was really important that I designated spaces for certain activities. If I was working, I was at my desk, I was either sitting or standing right by the window. That really kind of gave me energy. I think everyone obviously has their own style and their own personality of what they like. What I find most important is to make the space feel like yours and yours only.